Afreeca can do to put sort of a stop to SKT's onslaught here in the LCK, and which roster they're going to do it with as well. As we hop over to the other side of the rift, on the red side it will be the Afreeca Freecs, and the surprise is in the jungle. It's going to be Mowgli. Hasn't been starting many times so far here in the LCK for our summer split, but everyone else is absolutely the same. No Kramer, as aiming has certainly picked up that